everybody. This is the September 28th regular board meeting. I'm calling the meeting to order. We do have a quorum. If you will join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, before we get down to business, we have a few housekeeping notes. This is a voting meeting of the governing board, and according to the Arizona Open Meeting Statutes, Board Docs has provided a agenda and attachments to be used for the meeting. You can find Board Docs on the front page of the Sun City West website. There's a quick link to it, and Board Docs is the official repository of governing board documents. We have our bylaws, our policies, and you can see the meeting agendas and any presentations to be used. And then once the meetings are approved, they'll also be posted on Board Docs, attached to the original meeting posting. And the board recommends looking at the agenda and attachments before the meetings. And second, as an open meeting of an Arizona planned community, before the board votes, we will provide the opportunity for cardholder comments on the topic to be discussed. All comments will be directed to the chair. Those in attendance who wish to comment, please come up to the microphone on our left over here, sign in and tell us your name and rec card number, and you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. Shouting comments from the audience is not appreciated, so please be courteous. For those watching the event live on YouTube, you can make your comments online. Please be aware that there's about a 30-second delay in the broadcast, but we will address your comments at an appropriate time. And at the end of the meeting, after all the final director comments, cardholders will have another opportunity to make comments. So, proceeding to new business. CFO Swan, July and August year-to-date 2023 financial reviews. Approval. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. All right, do we have any changes or corrections to the owner-member meeting, general board meeting approvals from June 22nd, 2023? No? All right, they will stand as written. Any changes or comments to the governing board special meeting on June 22nd? Any changes for those? All right, they will stand as written. And July 27th, general board special meeting minutes approval, any changes to those? All right, they will stand as approved too. Mr. Schwan.
Thank you, Director Hurley. Good morning, everyone. Go over the August year-to-date financials, and just remind that we attach we go through this presentation in a summary, but we also attach the financials, the year-to-date financials to the agenda item on Board Docs, so you can see a more detailed financial statement there if you want to dig into some of this stuff a little more closely before or after you come to the meeting. So with that said, let's talk about August. Hard to believe that it's almost October already. It's crazy. It's going just flying by, really. But here we go. So if we look at August, for the month of August, we finished right on budget. And we had some unfavorable in golf and ancillary revenue. That's due to the closures of Grandview, and the sports pavilion was closed for the remodel for the month of August. So that kind of impacted our financial, but still finished at budget. We planned for that. Looking at the expense structure, finished 19,000 unfavorable. A lot of this is due to timing in the landscape maintenance and repairs and maintenance area. However, we did have some unbudgeted, unforeseen repairs and maintenance and landscape maintenance due to the extreme heat that we had over the summer. Some of you noticed some of the trees and the saguaros have really taken, the heat has really taken a toll on those, and we've had to expend some resources to get those things taken care of. So we've been investing in that. Hopefully be able to save some of those big older trees. But with that said, Utilities as well. Personally, I had the highest utility bill I've ever experienced in Arizona, and I've lived here since 2007. So that we're being impacted by that as well here. But overall, 18,000 unfavorable for the month of August with the impact of the revenue and the expense items we just talked about. Taking a look at prior year, operating favorable of 116,000, and then operating expenses all budgeted for, but for the most part, but 315,000 unfavorable to prior year for a total of 199 for the month of August unfavorable compared to fiscal year 2023. Looking at year to date, on the revenue side, we're 15,000 unfavorable through the month of August. Again, those two areas of golf and ancillary really impacted by the closures at Grandview and the sports pavilion. So we'll see those. We should make that up in the upcoming months. Looking at the expense structure, 31,000 favorable. You'll see a favorable in wages and benefits and taxes. We do have some open positions currently that we're trying to fill. So, we are seeing some favorable there because of that. On the landscape and repairs and maintenance side, talked about some of those things, but there's timing of those items. It's hard to budget those when they come up, so we budget for certain things, obviously, and when it comes to, repairs and maintenance, but some of that is just a matter of timing and when it hits throughout the year. Total overall favorable to budget of 16,000 year to date through August in operations. Compared to prior year, 206,000 unfavorable. If we look at that 206,000 and what's making that up, again, budgeted for, but 162,000 of it is simply the merit increases in our costs when it comes to our employee costs. Being 65% of our overall budget, this is the biggest impact that we look at when we're doing budgeting, as well as looking at the expense structure. Also in utilities, the hot weather has just really taken a toll, as well as the utility rates increase. And then landscape and maintenance, just looking at some of the items that the weather has impacted. Some of that is timing, so we hope to make some of this stuff, this 121,000, up as we move forward. In the capital section, I always tell people the things to pay most attention to here, which impact our reserve fund, are the APF fees, the reserve fund allocation. That's the new line item that we're calling out this year, and the investment income, realized and unrealized gains and losses. That's what the main thing to pay attention to here. So if we look at the month of August, APF fees are up, which is good. That's a direct injection into our reserve fund at the end of the year. So favorable 50,000 for the month of August. Looking at the reserve fund allocation. So this year we decided to budget an allocation from our member dues revenue for reserve fund. In years past, that materialized in our income from operations, and now we're taking and partitioning that in as a reserve fund allocation, because that's where that money goes. It goes in the reserve fund. So we want to call that out every month, and we want to track it to see how we're comparing to budget and how we're comparing to prior year. So compared to what we budgeted, we're right on budget for our reserve fund allocation. In the investment income and the unrealized gains and losses, we don't budget realized and unrealized gains and losses. It's really just subjected to what's going on in the market. And so it's not something we budget. So that'll always be just that amount for that month or that period that we're looking at when we're talking about comparing to budget. However, we do budget investment income, and our investment income is favorable by 37,000, which again, that money, it's important to note that that 30,000 is realized and gets reinvested into the reserve fund. So total in the capital section, 176 unfavorable. There's a loss on gain loss on sale of asset of 5,000. Some of you've noticed we did the Kuntz spa area and redid the flooring there, and it didn't meet its useful life, so we had to write off the old flooring and repair or redo the flooring there. So that's the cause for that 5,000 loss. Okay, so let's compare to prior years. So here's where we have numbers in that valuation change we can compare ourselves to. So when we're looking at prior year, APFs, favorable 81,000. Again, that's just where, we sold more transactions, home sales happened in the community. That's favorable for us. That's more home sales, and we increased the APF fee, so that's a result of that. Looking at the estimated reserve fund allocation, we're tracking a little behind last year, 15,000 behind last year in that area. And then investment income for the year, we're up, compared to prior year, we're up 36,000 there. And in valuation change, last year we were at a negative 800,000 through August, so a favorable change there in the realized, unrealized gains and losses. Looking at August compared to budget year to date, we are up 100,000 in APF fees, and that's again, I can't stress what a great thing that is, because again, those funds help bolster our reserve fund. And in terms of the allocation that we budgeted, we're right on budget for our reserve fund allocation coming from operations, okay? And in the investment income, we're up 80,000. We're going to be 40,000 plus over prior year as we continue throughout the year every month, which is great. And then on the unrealized, realized gains and losses, year to date, valuation change on that 31 and change million is 166,000 year to date. Negative, for a total of 26,000 total capital related unfavorable to budget. So we compare to prior year, we're 44,000 favorable. Again, APFs really helping us out over prior year. Investment income helping us out again. That reserve fund allocation, we're tracking a little behind last year. Last year we finished at $1.5 million. Last year we budgeted 1.2 million roughly. So we're gonna be based on if we're hitting our budget, we're gonna be behind prior year, because last year we returned more to the reserve fund operation than we budgeted this year. So that'll happen unless we increase our reserve fund allocation. So taking a look at some of the notables over prior year, APF revenues were up for APFs, but again, the big change there is the change in the APF fee of $800. So we have 800 times every APF plus the additional 4 APFs over prior year, 191,000. Reserve fund valuation change, 57,000. However, investment income of 76,000. So we really combine those two numbers to see where our investment account is, and we're up 19,000 over prior year total. So for looking at the total revenues over under expenses, compared to budget, 10,000 off of budget. For the month, 162 off of, for the year, 162 off of prior year. In this year's fiscal year 24, we budgeted roughly $5.5 million in capital improvements, and this is mostly repair and replacement of items that were approved in last year's budget cycle. Currently, we're running favorable through August of 186,000 projected on those, and those are items that have been either completed or PO'd. So that's a good thing, and that's going to continue to rise. We've got some great news on some stabilization that we budgeted for that we didn't have to do on some of our paving projects. So little teaser, look forward to September and October. I think we'll see some really good savings there. Looking at the capital, the lined out capital budget, this is it. You can go through each item. The highlighted items are completed projects. A lot more of this list is going to be yellow when we present in September, but through August, here's how we arrived at those numbers. So we have a bucket that we use for allowances, and basically it's for items that are kind of either unforeseen or that come up that aren't necessarily on the reserve fund, but that come up throughout the year. We budget $400,000. We budgeted $400,000 for those items last year. One large item that's part of that $400,000 is well pumps. So if a well pump goes out, we don't really know when that's going to happen. The useful life on those it varies. So we don't know when that's going to happen, and then we don't know what component is going to go bad within the well pumps. The wells are 1,000 feet deep, and then the pumps reside about halfway down that 1,000 feet, about 500 feet. So we really don't know what happens to those so we have to put allowance money out there for that. We don't know when it's going to happen, and we don't know what the extent of it will be. So we put allowance money out for that. This year, we had a well pump go down at Pebblebrook, and if you look at the allowance spend so far through August, we've spent $170,000 of the $400,000, and $122,000 of that was for a replacement of a well pump. And we had facts and findings for that, presented that to the board, and it was approved. It was kind of an emergency thing. We had to get moving on it. But so looking at that $122,000, you can see the other items on the list of allowance spend so far through August. And then I kind of keep talking about the reserve fund because I love to talk about it. And so let's talk about where we're at. So the reserve fund the reserve study and the reserve fund is really a big component of what we do around here because, we want to keep this place looking nice. And we've got top 10 in the country. Some would say top 5 place to live in the country for retirement communities. So we want to keep this place nice, and we need a reserve fund to do that. So when we look at the reserve fund, we always track throughout the year. We budget, we look at it, we do a 5-year outlook, and we track this throughout the year to make sure our reserve fund is there for the things that we need to repair and replace to keep this place looking nice. So where are we at through August? Well, we budgeted 49% for the year, and currently at 50% based on the changes in what's going on the financial statement. So we're right on budget.
Okay, and do we have any director questions for Cliff? Christine.
Thank you. I'd just like to back up for a moment, if we could, to discussing realized and unrealized gain and loss. There's been some misunderstandings in the past. So a realized gain or loss is something that we would expect to see when we're actually tapping the funds.
Right.
So as we all know, just wanted to repeat that, but would love for Cliff to be a little bit more specific, if possible, about were any of those items earlier in the presentation, were any of those realized?
Yes, we had for the year. So we book our valuation change every month in our reserve fund. Mostly it's due to unrealized gains or losses. So whatever the performance is of the investment fund, we book those real time throughout the month. And this year, we're positioning ourselves for a reserve fund draw because of the capital spend that we had last year versus the income from operations, the APF fees. So we take all the inflows and we subtract the spend, okay? So the spend is the capital spend. So we had a large irrigation project last year. So this is a year, and we don't have many, but this is a year where we actually draw from the reserve fund to help us pay for those capital projects, okay? So we had to position ourselves in our reserve fund to do that. So some of the losses that we booked in unrealized loss became realized when we decided to sell off some of that investment so we could position the cash to draw it out when we need it. And we did it in a way, we worked with Cap Trust, and we did it in a way to minimize those and also to take advantage of what's going on in the market now. So we sold some stuff off. The realized portion of that is $257,000. We actually had unrealized gain of $91,000. Okay, so at the end of the day, the net of that is the realized, unrealized gains and losses. I'll also say, though, the money that we set aside for that is gaining 4.5% right now, which is great. So it's working for us in that account. So we took it out of something that in the short term wasn't going to work for us, put it in something in the long term that wasn't going to work for us, and put it in something short term that is working for us. You're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions? Dick? Okay, thank you, Cliff. Moving right along, 3.02 motion. Secretary Kay.
I move that the governing board approve the revision of Bylaw 4.07, General Manager Operations Meeting as redlined.
Jack, seconds. All right, Kay, will you explain what this is for us, please?
Yes, this is a revision that outlines the procedures that are followed for the General Manager Operations meetings. It needed to be updated, and it now is updated in the way that it's functioning very well.
Okay. And just as an editorial comment, last fiscal year, we reinstituted the GM ops meetings. They hadn't been in place for several years based at the president's discretion. But they are a less formal, more roundtable type of discussion with the general manager of operational things that are happening. And it's more of a give and take. It's in a smaller room, so we have better communication, and this just brings it up to date. So Kate, would you read it again, please?
Certainly. I move that the governing board approve the revision of Bylaw 4.07, General Manager Operations Meeting, as redlined.
Okay, before we take a vote, do we have any audience comments on this? Okay, we'll take a voice vote. Christine, will you start? Yes votes to accept the motion. No is to deny it.
Yes.
Harry?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Jack?
Yes.
Kate?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Alan?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
All right, it passes. All right, next we have a motion from Director Rhodes.
Thank you, Tim. This is the motion for a new policy, creation of a new policy. We'll call it CO5, and I move that the governing board approve a new policy, CO5, guidelines for standing committee working groups as redlined.
Do we have a second? Okay, seconds. Dick, will you explain what this is, please?
As I had said earlier, this is actually as a new policy. It's going to be filed under committees under the policy section. And it is a clarification of working groups for the composition, the reason for creating a working group, what type of instructions have to be provided to the working group, the composition of the committee, and some exclusions. And one of the exclusions is that a governing board director can only serve as an advisor on the working group. It's a very comprehensive policy, and one that I think we've needed for quite some time.
Okay, do we have any discussion on this motion? All right, Dick, would you read the motion again, please?
I move the governing board approve new policy C05, guidelines for standing committee working groups, as redlined.
Any audience comments on this motion? All right, we'll take a vote. Come in, sign in, and
Okay. I should have a shorter last name. Jolene Piaskowski, 132268. So I'm just trying to understand the working group. At the BNF last time, Dick put a working group together for something, and Christina, the director, you are in charge, you're on that, okay? Are you not considered a chair?
no. No, they have a separate chair. In fact,
She's not considered a chair of the BNF?
No, she's not. She's,
So we have two board members on committees that are not considered chairs. Is that correct? Is that how
Correct.
you're standing that?
correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because she is in charge of that working committee, and she is a chair, I think. I mean, she's on the BNF as a board member.
I'll have Director Rhodes answer the question.
I chair the Budget and Finance Committee.
Correct.
Director Novello is a member of the the Budget and Finance Committee. There is a very clear distinction there.
Okay. Okay, I'm just asking, because it doesn't,
Okay.
it seems like you have you as a chair, you're a director and you're a chair, and she's also a chair.
No,
but
she
she's
is not a
but-
chair. She
so
is
in
not
other
a
words,
chair.
We only have, and we have two committees with two people, correct,
But
directors?
we have more than that.
Okay, okay,
There's 8 people on the Budget and Finance Committee. 2 are on the governing board.
Correct.
I am the chairman of the Budget and Finance Committee. Director Novello is a member of the Budget and Finance Committee. She is the chairman advisor of the working group, and that's perhaps where you're confused, because she is the advisor. She is a non-participating member of that group. She's there for a resource and advice. There are 2 other members on the working group, one of which is Gary Bosak, and the other is Ray Davis. We have as a resource person, Mr. Cliff Swan, who's our CFO. So, and all of those meetings are public by,
right. I just wanted that explanation because you sit on that committee, and I just wanted to make sure that, because we just passed.
as a
right,
member, she sits on the
right,
committee.
as a member, okay.
All right, any other comments? Let's go ahead and read it again, Kelsey. I'm sorry, Lisa?
Thank you, President Hurley. I just want to get a little bit of clarification from something Director Rhodes just said. He referred to Director Novello as a chairman advisor, and I did attend the working group yesterday just to observe. So she did an outstanding job as an advisor, but she was, directing the group. But I don't think we have to have a distinction there. You can't refer to her as a chairman advisor. We
Right.
have to differentiate. So we can't say she's a chairman
Correct,
and refer to chairing the group. We have to continue to say advisor.
right. In fact, this was one of the points of contention as we discussed this back and forth, the idea that a director should chair a working group. And it was decided, no, they shouldn't, but that they could be on the working group as a resource, okay? And that's what the policy ends up being. All right, after that discussion, Dick, would you mind one more time, please?
I move the governing board approve new policy C05, guidelines for standing committee working groups, as redlined.
Okay, we're going to take a voice vote. We're going to start on this end. Terry?
Yes.
Let me preface this. Yes means motion passes, no means it does not, so. Oh, yes. Okay, thank you. Alan?
Yes.
Dick?
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Jack?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Harry?
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
Okay, it passes. Thank you. All right. New business 304 is a code of conduct. Last year, after some tumultuous activity the year before, the board decided that it was in everyone's best interest for us to make a pledge to the membership of how we would act. And the pledge consists of 5 different things: serving with the general interest of all members, serving with an understanding of the scope of our responsibilities, serving with professional behavior, please, and respecting alternative opinions and the general duties and responsibility of the governing board of directors. So we are going to, after the meeting, we're going to have everyone sign. This is what it's going to be, and it will be hung in the governing board office. So just want everybody to know where you are going to be doing it. Okay. 5.03, House Bill 2298. We have Properties Manager, Mr. Riley.
Good morning, and thank you, President Hurley, members of the governing board. I'm here to introduce House Bill 2298. It's signed by the governor recently. It requires planned communities like Sun City West and individual HOAs where public streets are under the control of a government entity. In our case, that's Maricopa County. They maintain, pave, and stripe our roads. The bill requires us to take a vote of the owner members as to the association's ability to restrict parking on public roadways as it applies to our CC&Rs. How that currently affects us is recreational vehicle parking. We follow the county code of 72 hours. Mobile home trailers, remodeled buses, boats and boat trailers, utility trailers, and the big one is commercial vehicles. I say personally had Riley's Electric, for example. The way we have it now, I can't have that vehicle parked out in the street. If we were to say no to this, I would be able to do so. Some of my personal concerns about this is pedestrian crossing and, of course, bicyclists. We have a large population of bicyclists. In fact, we have a club that encourages it here. And I think the more vehicles that are parked out on the road, the more dangerous that sport would become. We need to take this vote no later than June 30th of 2025. So, yeah, we are starting early on this. In the interest of voting, when we have the largest population, what we'd like to do is combine this with the governing board vote in March of 24. There'll be more information coming out on this and with more details regarding voting, early voting, things of that nature. We'll have that in the rec news along with other articles explaining this a little bit better as we're moving forward. It's very important that we all vote, and please look forward to that information coming out.
Okay, Riley, I do have a question, and that is, with all of our other HOAs here that aren't covered under the Sun City West HOA, do they have to have separate elections, or can we do it all at once?
It's my understanding that they do.
They do.
Yes. AHOA has been working with their attorney and putting on presentations for those HOAs so that they can establish a vote for it as well.
Okay. Is there some way that we can aid them in that?
I actually have had conversations with TONA. They look like they're pretty well planned out as to what they need to do with their HOAs.
Okay. All right, good. Any other questions? Jack?
So Riley, if I understand this correctly, if we do not pass this, or we do not agree that we want this, then we will have RVs, mobile homes, commercial vehicles parking on our streets.
It'll roll back to simple county ordinances. The 72-hour rule is a county code, but it would be up to county to enforce that, either through county code or the sheriff's department. I don't know, I can't speak for them as how well manned they are to get out and pursue those things. I can tell you we're out there within 24 hours.
So in other words, if we want to maintain it like it is, we should vote yes for this.
That is correct.
Dick, do you have a comment?
I do, Riley. I have a question. You said that you're working with the individual HOAs within the community. Do you know if you've captured all of them? I am concerned that there would be HOAs that are more relaxed on their enforcement.
That's possible. I know Tona out of Ahoa, she's the one that's actually working with those HOAs. I can look into it a little bit more for you as well.
I think it's a very important issue because I think we do have HOAs that are more relaxed than others are, and I'm not sure that they'll appreciate the gravity of this.
Okay, certainly. And not all HOAs are members of Ahoa either, just for your information.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No. Any questions from the audience on this topic? You're going to be hearing a whole bunch more of it later. Come on up to the microphone, please.
Good morning. Jim Scott, 133818. It just seems to me, why aren't we putting time and effort and energy into something that's already taken care of by Big Brother? I mean, we're bringing it down to the microcosm level. It seems unnecessary.
Well, there are a few things that we restrict more so than, say, the county code. For example, the utility trailers sitting in someone's driveway, commercial vehicles being left out in the streets and things of that nature, where we monitor that as well. Be it a customized school bus, for example. Those are not permitted under our CC&Rs, yet perfectly acceptable as far as the county is concerned.
Okay. I guess my other question would be, is those seem like extreme one-offs, unless I'm missing something.
We have about 400 RV and trailer issues every 6 months. And they get progressively worse this time of year as people are moving,
Snowbird.
coming back, yeah.
Yeah, I get
Exactly.
that. But I mean, yeah, okay. I'm just probably seeing I don't see something that exists, and that's all I'm just saying is, seems like a issue that's already taken care of, but,
All right.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Nick Turner, 131829, speaking for myself, not the committee or clubs I'm involved with. I've got a question and a comment. The first one is a comment. We're probably not seeing lots of things parked around on the streets because we are enforcing it. And the other question is, what happens if an HOA decides to forego their regulation and go back to the county standards, and the HOA next door and the recreation centre doesn't?
Riley, you want to try that?
I will make an attempt at that. I'm assuming within the confines of that HOA that they would revert back to just county code.
Yeah, and then so we'll have people who live outside that HOA complaining about the fact that there's things parked on the streets there because their HOA, in fact, voted to keep things the same.
That is a possibility.
Okay, thank you.
I think one of the points here is that enforcement, if this goes back to the county, enforcement is going to be almost zil, because you're talking about having the county come out, after they receive the complaint, the county come out with all the things that they have to do and look at a parked trailer, things like that. Sounds a little sketchy to me.
I know they are short-staffed, especially when you speak with the deputies that are out there. That would be part of their enforcement as well.
Right.
They've got a lot more pressing things to do.
Sure. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, that brings us to director comments. We'll start down on Christine's end. Christine, you have any additional comments? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, this is one of my favorite parts. All right, yeah, I forgot. We have a board election coming up, and last year we had 3 people run for 4 positions, okay? This year we are strongly encouraging people that have a desire to serve the community, a desire to really understand how Sun City West runs, and who want to participate in the governance of our community to pick up a packet. They'll be available November 1st. They're from Karen Rupkin, who's the governing board executive assistant. Her office is just behind membership. Come into membership, tell the lady at the desk you'd like to talk to Karen about a packet. She will have them available. You take the packet, it's got instructions on how to get signatures. You need 200 signatures. Once you have that, you provide them, and once they're validated, you will be on the ballot. So we strongly urge anyone that has any desire to run for the board to take it upon themselves to get up and do it. We will be voting for 3 positions. Harry will be off, Kay will be off, and Terry will be off. And Kay will not be off because, did I say, I meant Lisa, the lady with the bandage. All right, again, those packets are available November 1st, please. Ask your friends. If you don't want to do it, ask somebody who has an interest in the community to step up and run, because we do need people to run for the board. All right, that's my 2 cents. Christine, you have any comments?
I just want to go back to the overview that we received of the House bill. I really do encourage anybody who's here, anybody who listens back, to please read the content of that bill. And this is something that will very seriously impact all of us as owner members. So please, it was very well explained, but give it some thought and become informed. That's my only comment today. Thank you.
All right, Harry, comments? All right, Lisa?
Yes, thank you, President Hurley. So to touch on Tim's talking about getting information and the packets available on November 1st to run for the governing board, we're putting together a little campaign that starting in November, I'm working with Katie O'Grady back there, and you'll start seeing at some of our larger events, a couple of our governing board directors will be we have a table set up and will be available prior to the event that you can come talk to us, ask us questions, just, pick our minds and ask and see, what's entailed about being a governing board director, and just in general, if you have questions about what's going on in the community as well, we want to be there, and we'll be available for any questions you may have. So looking forward to meeting people there. Thank you.
Jack, do you have any comments?
No comments.
Okay.
No comment.
Do we have any comments online? Okay. All right. Jack, do you have any comments?
I do. I want to kind of echo Riley's comments about the parking. It's always the little things that seem obscure and non-important that count. The devil's always in the detail. We may not have a problem today, but we have a relatively vigorous enforcement of parking and abandoned cars and that sort of thing. What we don't want to have is, and you could probably pick any city in the United States where they have cars and people are living in cars, and because I think the parking restrictions by the county are pretty broad. We want to have something that fits our community. So even though this may sound like it's not really a big deal, it is a big deal, and we need to pay very close attention to this. And we do need to rally our HOAs. So if you live in an HOA, ask about it, because I know that not all HOAs are aggressive and forward on issues like this. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dick. Alan, you have comments?
I do. I'll be very quick. I want to echo the comments of my 2 colleagues regarding the new House bill rule. I'm one of those cyclists who rides all over Sun City West, as well as all over Surprise and the West Valley. And I will say one thing. When you ride through Sun City West, our streets are relatively clear and relatively safe. If you want to see the impact of not having that enforcement, just take a drive through some of the communities that don't have a internal enforcement of a parking policy and see what it looks like, especially this time of year. And you quickly will appreciate the work and effort that is obviously occurring that we don't know about as residents to keep our streets as safe as they are. The second comment I want to make is I encourage, as others here, and as a brand new board member, for those considering to do pursue running for the governing board. It is a interesting process to get onto the ballot. It is a great learning experience. And if you want to learn more about how Sun City West operates, sign up for Torch. There is a spring class coming up. It is also a great experience to, it is a great opportunity to learn about how this community operates and to learn the inner workings of what makes this community click. So I would encourage that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Terry, do you have any comments?
No comment.
Excuse me, before we open it up to audience comments, I'd like to ask the general manager if he has any comments.
If you can throw that on screen for us. Thank you. We've recently spent a little bit of time in our parking lots taking care of business. And so for the next 30 some odd years, we won't have this headache again. Carl Wilhelm has done an excellent job, as he always does, managing our projects when it comes to capital improvements. But at a recent governing board operations meeting that we had on a Monday a couple of weeks ago, we talked about courtesy. We talked about behavior. We talked about how people interact. And it kind of evolved into a Be Kind program that Ms. O'Grady has kindly taken on herself. And over the next couple of weeks, you're going to see a little bit of media push as far as just kind of paying attention to one's behavior anymore. Our front staff are made up a lot of owner members that live here, working part-time, people like you in the audience. For a little extra spending cash, they're coming out. They're starters at golf courses. They're greeting people at swimming pools. They're taking people's ID cards and answering questions at our recreation centers. And oftentimes, these frontline staff get barraged with just an unbelievable content of language over nonsensical things. And we would like that to stop. We'd like to present the facts that this goes on, but understand we're all in this game together, and people need to start being a little nicer to one another. I personally witnessed this event the other day, and Carl getting absolutely blasted by an individual when he calmly said to the individual, with trucks parked sideways and barricades all over the place, do they not mean anything to you? And he was greeted with someone talking poorly about his mother. And so this is just, it's just wrong, right? And so, but that's not the only incident. We had an incident the other day, I believe at Palm Ridge. We had a car with Texas license plates parked in that parking lot for over 6 days. Texas plates. Riley goes out and investigates. We send our people out there. We contact the sheriff's office. The VIN number's scratched off. Is this car who belongs to this car? We don't know. But our policy says this is private property and you're not to be parking here for longer than 72 hours. Our policy is we tow it. And we did. The next day, our frontline manager, working as a monitor at the recreation center, again, got barraged by this individual who's not an owner member here, doesn't even belong here, but yet upset that his car parked in our parking lot got towed. Carl refereed that incident as well. And I dare you to stand in front of Carl. But that's not really what we want to do. We really want to just enhance behavior, pay attention, and be kind. And I think over the next couple of months, Ms. O'Grady's output on that with board support, I know we talked about it in our meeting, and we're all into this, but please, be kind, and thank you.
Okay, we're now going to open up to member comments. If you want to come up to the microphone, and you know the drill.
No. Oh, man.
I'm not sure I recognize you. Could you give us your name, please?
Tom Jones. It's not unusual. 110390. Once again, and I missed the last one, but my coworker and birthday girl, happy birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Got that on YouTube. The Automotive Restoration Club is having a raffle at our car show February 10th. Out in front of our building, you'll see a 2016 red Mustang convertible. All proceeds, because we are a 501c3 charity, we take those and we are paying down our debt for our building is the first thing, but we're also helping out other charities, Make-A-Wish, Relay for Life, firefighters charities, you name it. We were just at a meeting with WestMec for students. We do stuff with students as well. We're going to have a trunk or treat at an elementary school over in El Mirage. You know, so our cars get out and we present to the general public that, you know, not all car guys are bad. So I have tickets. She beat me up because she sold one last time, and they're $20 each or 6 for $100, and buy a raffle ticket. Thank you.
What kind of car was it again, Tom?
A red 2016 Mustang convertible with, I believe, 40,000 miles on it. And so relatively low mileage. I think it's a V6. Yeah, I'm not a mechanic. I'm.
All right.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Gosh, I'm not a very good salesperson. Second and third is 500 and second place and 200 for third place. Thank you. You guys are on the ball. You need to be selling more tickets.
Mr. Jones, I would like to say one thing, and that is whoever wins, please check with Riley and the CCRs before you build a garage.
Oh, I just hope they don't park it on the street.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Tom. Are there any other comments from the audience? That would be nice.
Sign in again, right?
Yes, please.
Okay, I am concerned about what's going on with our RRNPs. Today, you guys did red lines, and you corrected the policy, correct? I mean, you showed us the red lines, not the RRNPs. So let me back up. So if you go to, has any of you attended the Charter Club RRNPs meeting? Okay, so when Jack goes through the RRNPs, he has no red lines at all. He has only black lines. So today, when you guys went through a new policy change, you had the red lines and then the black. So how is our community to know if Jack is not redlining his policy from old to new? How are we to know what is being done?
Jack, would you like to respond to that?
Certainly. The reason we're not showing the red lines is that because the document has been entirely rewritten and the red lines make it completely illegible to read. So what I've done, and you'll notice in the last meeting, is every time we discussed a reference in the rewritten document, I gave the equivalent reference in the current RRMPs, so that those could sit there and go side by side and look and see what has been changed and what has been included.
Really? Because you went from 28 definitions to almost 58, and you didn't go through any of those extra definitions.
I can do that. We also expect that people will come prepared to the meetings, and if they have questions, then that's what the audience time is for.
So the other thing too, the first meeting, it showed on your agenda the whole document of the RRMPs. When we got there, you are telling us that we're only going through the preamble, the introduction, the definitions, whatever. Then you also informed us that Article 3 and 4 would be done on this date, I thought, I think that should have been maybe explained on the agenda, because people came, especially with it all being black, people came thinking this was done. This is a done deal. It's black. It's not redlined at all. You never even explained that this is a brand new document. You never explained that the old document is like out. I mean, so we have an elderly crowd here that does not understand that, right? And so I guess I would like you to be a little bit more convenient to the older crowd. Most of them probably don't even have a computer at home maybe, or they don't have copies. The other thing is how you told there was a tennis player, what was his name? How you should not join the club. Yeah, you literally, because he was confused about your 50%. He was confused about the 50%, and your whole committee said, well, you guys should be lucky because we went from 75% down to 50%, except for the 50% is monthly, and the last RRMPs is 75% is annually. Big difference there. So this gentleman came up, Bill, I'm pretty sure you were there at the meeting, and you heard this gentleman asking Director Leary, so I'm confused about the 50%, I'm just a booster, a tennis booster, and you literally said, yes, you joining that club will hurt the club's numbers.
If he doesn't scan in.
If he doesn't scan in. He is a booster. He's probably 82 years old. He probably made that club, Jack. I mean, he made that club. So now all of a sudden, what are we supposed to just dismiss the people that are older that can't play?
Okay, Jolene, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All right, any other comments?
I might need a little more than 2 minutes, but I'll do my best. Mary Gainett, 133113. I'm speaking as a resident, not an employee. Today, you guys will be signing this code of conduct, and it says there must be loyalty to the community. You didn't read it all, which I was hoping you would go through, so to remind people.
It's posted online.
I know, everything's posted, but there must be loyalty to the community and to the association. This is a two-part component covering conflicts of interest and confidentiality. Mr. Hurley, we know you are friends with GM manager, Mr. Schwinn, and that you guys golf together weekly in that Nimrod's group. I believe it's up to the governing board president what salary information is made available to the community and what salary, and with salaries being 65% of our budget, I would like to see more detail on that. But for this discussion, I'm told that only the GM president, governing board president, sees these salaries, and I believe you make bonus and salary decisions pertaining to Mr. Schwinn. And if you don't think that's a conflict of interest, I guess I'm concerned about that. I'm guessing Mr. Schwinn, his job would be much easier if there's fewer clubs for them to deal with. And this current push to throttle back on some of our smaller clubs, that does not seem in the best interest of the community. For instance, what's happened with the softball, the village store. I know you say that's about taxes, but there's many people in the finance world that say that was not necessary. It seems that we're slowly losing what we all moved here for, and we want that to stop. Sometimes you are the deciding vote on such issues, and I think it would be in the best interest of the community that Mr. Schwinn and his staff not golf, bowl, or socialize with any board members. Once your term is over, you can resume those things, but please keep your relationship strictly business. I would expect, Mr. Hurley, that you implement that separation, and if not, I would hope Mr. Schwinn would step up himself and do what's right. And actually, that should be made a policy.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Good stuff. Jim Scott, 133818. I had a couple of questions. I'm not sure this is a place to even talk about it, but I did want to bring it up, just my own knowledge. EPCOR is trying to incorporate us into some grand scheme, and I guess there's a petition over at PORA for us and everyone to sign by October 5th. Something about trying to raise our utility bill, so FYI. So everybody knew about that. That's good. So I should go over there and sign it? Yay?
Yes.
Okay. The A's have it. Wired. There's some chatter on the social media platform. Wired is not going to be finishing the cul-de-sacs and whatnot due to environment and soil, and at the end of the day, subscribers. Anybody know about that?
No, we have nothing to do with Wired.
Okay.
Excuse me.
FYI. And then the other thing I want to kind of piggyback on that lady, our greatest asset in this community is the clubs. And it does seem, it's not leveraged to our advantage of making us number one, or I think it was Riley, or maybe it was you that said 1 in 10, 1 in 5. I would like to know what do those other clubs or communities are structured or whatever that sets them differently. Obviously, if they had a beach, that would probably be something we can't fix. But FYI. And then the other thing is I did an open house over at Trilogy over at Wisconsin. They have an activities director. And you made a comment that kind of yerked on me a little bit. And that's the mentality here. It's posted online. Everything around here is so fragmented that it doesn't roll it up to everybody have an idea of what's happening at not 30,000, but nice to have it at a 10,000-foot view on a monthly basis of what's going on a given day of the calendar. Saw a lot of dancing, I get that part, but there's a lot of other good stuff going on that's so fragmented. Nobody really knows what's going on later this afternoon or tomorrow. So anyways, That's it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We do post things on the Rec News. They are posted on the internet, the e-news. Owners do have some responsibility to go out and get information too. I mean, we can't hand deliver messages to everybody's house every month. And there is some responsibility to go out and find out what's happening in your community. Thank you.
Lynn Kellis, 129120, and I agree. I mean, we have a newspaper dropped in our driveway once a week that has quite a rundown of what the activities are going on. They're posted at the rec centers. With very little effort, you can find out what's going on a regular basis without having to go online. My thought. I'm just speaking as a homeowner, not as a member of any board or anything. I do want to make the comment that this year there has been a significant change in this last year in how all of you get along. You're all allowed to still have your own opinions and your own thoughts, but it doesn't become a battle or a war like it was a couple of years ago. It was pretty nasty. And I, for one, as a homeowner, really appreciate seeing more continuity through all of you and the efforts that you're putting out to work things out, rather than just say, well, this is wrong, this is wrong. You're finding that middle ground, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Janet Knudsen. I just have a question about the
Red card number, please.
120228.
Thank you.
I have a question about the HOAs. If they are within the confines of Sun City West, why are they not governed by the same rules and regulations that we are, who are not in an HOA? And why do they have different rules and regulations that they follow? That's my questions.
Okay, the quick answer, when Sun City West was being developed, it was developed by neighborhoods, and there are over 104 different HOAs here. A lot of the CC&Rs that CCNRs belong to the lot. They run with the lot. So when that development or that little neighborhood was developed, they were given a set of CCNRs. Okay, now, if they went to another neighborhood, there may be different CCNRs. They're very close, but they could be a little bit different. Okay, so people that aren't in a separate HOA, the CCNRs on their lot is what Sun City West and Riley's group enforce. Okay, but the other HOAs that have a separate set of HOAs, that's up to that HOA to enforce those rules.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, thank you.
Yep, thank you. Any other questions?
Gary Reynolds, 127350. Just a question concerning an advertisement that's in the Rec Center News, the e-news. Something about the Chance Shelter. Is this something that's sponsored by a club or an entity within Sun City West, or are they an outside entity? Anyone know?
I'm not sure. I don't, Katie O'Grady, our services manager, is coming down. She'll answer your question for you.
Ouch.
Yeah, good question. We do reserve space in our publications for area 501c3s that directly benefit the community. We don't have any direct affiliation with Chance Shelter. However, we often find strays running on the golf course, and rather than just let them be, if a greenskeeper or someone finds them, we work with Chance and some of those other rescue organizations to get those back to their homeowners. So we do have a relationship with them, and it's a nonprofit, so we do once in a while put their ads in the paper.
Okay, does that answer your question, sir?
Yes, as far as I'm concerned, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Our next regular meeting.
Director, I have a point of order. I'm Christine, over
Here,
here.
go ahead.
There is a comment online.
Oh, is there? Okay. Sue, Jack Ambert, and the board needs to be transparent. The boards need to be either redlined or highlighted what is old and what is new. Okay. Was that it?
I wanted to be sure that the member was heard. Thank you.
Okay, all right, I was not watching it. Okay, our next regular governing board meeting will meet on October 26th. It meets here in the lecture hall at 9 a.m. The next workshop meets on October 13th here in the lecture hall at 9 a.m. And my office hours are on October 9 from 10 to 11. And cardholder comments are always appreciated to the governing board. Pardon me? 10 to noon, what did I say? Okay, 10 to 2? No, 10 to noon. Noon. All right, cardholders can contact the president by email. My email is tim.hurley, H-U-R-L-E-Y, at suncitywest.com. Please spell out Sun City West. And the cardholders may meet at the governing board president during the next scheduled office hours on October 9th from 10 till noon, or by appointment. Appointments can be made with Karen Repkin, our governing board executive assistant. Her phone number is 623-544-6115. And the governing board offices are located in the membership building at this campus, R.H. Johnson campus, at the far end by the hall. All right, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Anything else that I missed? Okay, I'm going to adjourn the meeting at 10:08. Thank you.